Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Riyadh. It's been a pleasure coming back and sharing the insights about blockchain. My name is Mohammed Salman Anjum, the CEO of InvoiceMate, an application on BSV Blockchain for the invoice management system. And also I'm running the hub for the BSV in the Middle East and South Asia region. The whole objective of the hub is to promote blockchain in enterprise and the government sectors. There is a lot of fog around blockchain concept. So the objective is to do that clarity about what is the blockchain for the digital transformation initiatives.
Good morning, everyone. Simit Naik from nChain. nChain is a blockchain research and development company based out of Zug in Switzerland. We have offices in London and Slovenia. And we're very active in understanding how we can use blockchain to deliver against some of the use cases that we've seen in conversations we've had across the world. And so we're very focused on how we can use blockchain to increase integrity of the data that we all rely upon, but also how we can use blockchain to facilitate faster, cheaper, and more effective payments, especially as we evolve from commerce in the physical world to commerce in a digital world. And so our focus is very much on how we can use blockchain to deliver the solutions for some of these key use cases across the world.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Ibrahim Jega. I'm a co-founder at Domineum Blockchain Solutions. Domineum is providing blockchain as a service. It's a company that is based in UK, but with offices in Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Estonia. Domineum has been set up to see how we can be able to support government and businesses in terms of optimizing their services and also increasing revenue, whereby creating transparency. We've had a lot of issues because emerging economy has issues about complexity, about managing data, about transparency, about security. So we had to now come in to see how we can be able to look at different areas, first of all with land system, then cargo tracking, identity management, and as well as credential management. So Domineum is just there to see how we can be able to help government increase and bring transparency and businesses as well. We're so happy to be part of the BSV ecosystem and looking forward to more engagement in Saudi.
So Ahmed, you introduced yourself earlier, so I'm going to go the first question to you.
Sure.
Which is, can you tell us about any blockchain projects you've started or have worked on in the past, whether on BSV or not, and what are some lessons you've learned, good and bad, from that journey?
Good morning again. So blockchain, it's very interesting when it comes to using blockchain in digital transformation. So everybody's curious about using it, and everybody's curious about trying to implement this new technology. So our relationship with blockchain started with a pilot in the blockchain, working for Mecca municipality and trying to do some project in the area of building permits in the blockchain as a POC. So that was my first experience with the blockchain.
It was here in Makkah, right?
Yes, Makkah, of course. So what happened is it led me to discover and unleash the power of the blockchain. Even though this was a small POC, was trying to play and try what the blockchain could do, we witnessed the transformation that could happen in the amount of time and the amount of quality of the service that we could produce in this area. And there's a little R&D done in the area of government services in the blockchain because it's infancy, but there's very successful use cases that start to taking off in massive transformation in the area of smart cities and things like that.
Mohammed, I mentioned it in my opening speech. Will you tell us what your company is doing with the Sindh Police Department and how that's improving efficiency or accuracy of their enterprise resource data?
Right. As I mentioned, that there is a lot of fog around the blockchain as a digital transformation enabler. Same was the case with the police. They have the resource management system, which was on the conventional database, and there were some issues for them keeping the integrity of the data and the workflow around that resource management system. So we came into the discussion and we offered them the integrity to the data through the BSV blockchain, and Then eventually we did the mapping exercise with them, because not all the data needs to be going on chain. There has to be some remaining off chain, and the critical data, for example, as Jimmy was also giving the example, that the ammunition is a very critical data, issuance of the ammunition, and then the recollection and all of that inventory of the vehicles of police, the ammunition of the police has a value of a criticality. So that is such of a data that needs to be on chain because it requires the integrity. So the exercise went well, and we eventually gave them a layer of blockchain. The functional part was kept as the same. We didn't touch upon the resource management system, which was functionally working very well. We just added a new layer of BSV blockchain to give the integrity to that critical data of ammunition inventory and vehicle inventories and all other critical inventories they had, and their issuance, their movement in the system. So that's how they are getting benefit out of that system. And now in the next phase, we are talking with them to putting another critical information about policing, that is the first information reports are the FIRs. So there is always some issues with that report can be tampered later, all other things happens with that document. So again, to protect the integrity of that critical document, they are in discussion with us to put that also on a BSV blockchain.
And one thing you'll hear a lot today is a lot of the companies that work on our blockchain have middleware layers that allow an organization to integrate their existing data systems to the blockchain. So you don't have to replace your entire data system, accounting system, supply chain management system, because nobody really wants to do that. It's too painful. Simit, why don't you tell us about how the Tuvalu project is going on in the South Pacific, and how you're helping to digitally transform that nation?
Sure. So Tuvalu is a collection of islands in the Pacific Ocean. The population, of which there's about 11 to 15,000 people, are spread over 9 different islands across the Pacific. Now, Tuvalu is the lowest lying islands in the world, so they're at most risk of climate change. They know eventually that they are going to have to move the entire nation to another island or to another landmass. And so in order to prepare for that, they've kickstarted a digital transformation program. And then the goal of the digital transformation program is to make Tuvalu a paperless society. And so when we think about society and the kind of information and the data we collect, we've kind of split the project into 2 phases. So the first phase is very much focused on digitizing government data, government registries. And when we talk about registries, it covers everything from birth and death certificates to nationality and citizenship details, to education and healthcare records. And so digitization of those registry services is a key part of the project. And the second part is the digitization of the economy. Now, Tuvalu itself doesn't have a central bank, so they don't issue their own currency. They actually use the Australian dollar. And one of the things about cash is that it's physical in nature. So every quarter, they have to physically ship Australian dollars from the Australian Central Bank and or Fiji to Tuvalu. So every quarter, they have to get a shipment of coins and notes shipped over to Tuvalu, and they then have to distribute it across the 9 islands. And so that's labor intensive, it costs money, and it's very difficult to react to certain situations.
They can run out of money, right?
Exactly. And so the second part of the project is digitizing the money, is digitizing the Australian dollar and providing a far more effective mechanism for the National Bank in Tuvalu to distribute money and to get money into the hands of its citizens. The second part of kind of the digitization of money is that for the first time ever, Tuvaluan citizens can now participate in the digital economy. Tuvalu doesn't have the benefit of having Visa and MasterCard systems. It doesn't have access to regular internet. And so citizens can't buy goods and services off the internet. And so the technology and the solutions we're building will allow them to not only participate in the digital economy, but actually leapfrog the kind of the evolution in payments. So moving away from cash to kind of physical cards, we're actually leapfrogging that and allowing them to use a digital form of money that gives them the flexibility to pay for goods and services face-to-face across the islands, but also to buy goods and services on the internet. And the way we see kind of data and payments is not in isolation. We see the convergence of those two concepts. So once we start creating digital identities and we start creating digital registry services, we can then use the digital payment system to be able to facilitate payments between government departments and or citizens and government departments. And so we're trying to build a holistic solution across Tuvalu. And Tuvalu want to be kind of, the leaders in this emerging technology. And so it's quite a nice relationship we've kind of built up with them.
Yeah, small nations, so a good almost test set of islands to sort of test out how a whole nation can become digitized. Mohammed, let's talk about things you're doing in Africa, because you're doing a lot. So tell us about some of the blockchain projects Domineum is deploying in Africa. Cargo tracking and academic credential tracking and property title registry, right?
Africa is an emerging country which has a lot of potentials, but there's a lot of things that need technology that can help optimize and also disrupt the space. So the cargo tracking space was a very delicate information because most governments have those gaps, not be able to identify what comes in and what goes out. And after the IMO meeting, which all countries signed around securing their port authority after the 9/11 attack, so most countries were instructed to set up a cargo tracking node in their system. But we realized that most countries in Africa don't have those solutions. Most of them are utilizing manually processing of data, and a use case of information that we had in Sierra Leone, there was only one computer in the port management system. Every information was being recorded manually, collection was manually, and there was no transparency, there was no proper data management. So when we came in to do our POC, we did a way whereby we injected by optimizing the entire process end to end by, first of all, digitizing their process in terms of collection, point of taking, and also point of landing, weight, and have all other protocols to do that. And that has really increased revenue in the government, which we helped the government raise over $2 million in less than 6 months. And we also understood the problem around land because of crisis, ethnic issues, and what have you. Government has not been able to identify who owns what and where. So we picked the second use case that we're doing around land system to be able to help government in terms of digitizing their process. Nigeria being a federal state for a population over 200 million, we had to approach a state which was very promising around increasing efficiency and also bringing transparency in its land department. We sold the blockchain solution to the state governor, who was very interested around it, and we had to implement that solution by bringing all the data, converting all the, because there was a stock of data in a big room, files, everything. So we had to convert all those documents into digital assets, whereby they'll be able to identify, put them on several layers based on location, based on different identity. That has really made us understand that this is actually can be able to help solve a lot of problems by in terms of even if the government wants to really tax, if the government wants to really identify and also utilize increasing its land system in Africa. Another issue that we also saw was around identification and credential management system. There's a lot of people who have similar names, who are very difficult to be able to identify. There are over billions of Mohammed. How do you know? Billions of Mohammed Ibrahim. I'm Mohammed Ibrahim. But there are billions of Mohammed Ibrahim. How do I know I am Mohammed Ibrahim without a unique ID? So we created a unique ID system, which we're just running in a university in Nigeria called BSV University, one of the prominent universities in Africa, to be able to identify and optimize each individual's identity by using a unique code, whereby their credentials can be able to ascertain. Even when they travel, if they're looking for an employment, they don't need to send a long CV or a report of their, or they just need to send their ID, which university can check and verify from the platform and be able to know that this is the real Mohammed Ibrahim that has this certificate. So that's really be able to help us be able to articulate and also galvanize issues around transparency, security, and also identity management. We have a very young full population, over 70 million people, which are prominent around being enthusiasts around blockchain, and a lot of them want to understand how can they use blockchain protocols to be able to help build their products. And now we'll be able to see how we can be able to position BSV in the market so that a lot of developers, which are huge traffic in West Africa, be able to build their products on BSV, and we could be able to sell it. So that has made us to set up an academy, which we're about to launch very soon in the Bayes University. That will be able to help us build capacity and train developers, professionals, and also experienced people who are utilizing this, especially government people, to educate them more around what blockchain is about and also the different protocols.
Great, you're doing a lot of great work there. We had the same problem in Vietnam, too many wins, or Nguyen in Vietnam. So let's talk about lessons you've learned in terms of challenges that from the things you've tried around the world. What are things people here in Saudi Arabia need to be aware of as they begin a blockchain journey? And what's your advice of how to overcome obstacles?
This is a very good question, because when you're dealing with blockchain, it's early stage in a lot of aspects. So education is a major factor, especially there's two layers of the education. Mohammed just mentioned the developer and the boots in the ground and the people who can actually build things in the blockchain. But also another very important layer of the education is the decision makers. In order for them to make a right decision in the right time concerning any regulation or any project when it comes to the blockchain, that require knowledge, require experience. And this experience will not come just by reading tweets or information about the blockchain. Require a lot of training, require hands-on skills in practicing making the right decision, the proper decision. So this life cycle would be shorter and healthier. So, one of the major thing that I noticed when I talk to people, and it's mentioned in the session before us, that there's a limited knowledge about what blockchain could do in the services. And if you're talking to the right person, that the decision maker, and he has the proper knowledge about the use cases and the solution that blockchain could bring, then you are in the right track and for the acceleration adoption of the blockchain. But also, blockchain is not a technology product that you sell like HP or Cisco, or you're not coming. Like this session here is not about to sell a product, is to sell the journey of the blockchain, to show people this is a transformation and disruptive technology is going to change our way of doing service. So we are not here to sell problems, solutions looking for problems. We are to find a problem that needs solution that could be built on the blockchain the right way.
Speaking of problems that are helped by blockchain, let's go to Mohammed. Tell us quickly about InvoiceMate, how it improves the invoice system, especially with invoice factoring to get money.
Right, again, we are talking about the digital transformation solutions coming with the blockchain. And one of that is, again, we talked about the data and the documents. So the largest used document in the world is the invoices. Though invoices have issues with have the pain points, both vendors and clients have issues like they find insecurities and inefficiencies in the workflow of the invoices, duplications, lost, and frauds as well. To address all this, you need blockchain, which is a classic use case for invoice management system. So that we started developing 1.5 years back, and now it's been implemented. Like our first implementation was in Saudi Agriculture and Livestock Investment Company. So I'll just refer their a case study rather than explaining about what InvoiceMate is, how it is benefiting Salik at this stage. So they are like having different ecosystem players like suppliers. So the complete supplier management system is happening there. So the issuance of the invoices from the app, brandable app, through the suppliers is coming in a centralized manner, in a like a proper manner, how Salik wants to make it more efficient and also make it more in trusted manner. So then comes the accounting staff, which is probably the biggest beneficiary of the InvoiceMate in the Salik situation, because they are reducing the cost per invoice. That is again through the efficiency, through the trusted workflows, so they don't have to repeat the work, so they don't have to deal with the fake supporting documents and all that. Then things move on to the CFOs and senior leadership of the Salik. Again, they get benefit of the lot of analytics and trusted analytics coming through the blockchain power. And last but not the least is the overall ecosystem, which, because again, blockchain is a network solution. It is not just serving the purpose of Salik, it is serving the purpose of the whole ecosystem around them, the suppliers, the clients of Salik, and its own functions of supply chain, accounting, procurement, and all these, etc. Functionalities. So the whole ecosystem of Salik is getting benefits out of the invoice management system, which is, as I mentioned earlier, is powered by the BSV blockchain.
Mohammed, really quickly in 1 minute, can you explain at a basic level how blockchain technology can help with Islamic finance, which I know you're not doing yet, but you're looking at?
Yes, it's a classic, again, use case of blockchain, because there are two layers of auditing in Islamic financing or Islamic banking, because conventional is there, and you need another layer of Sharia compliance. So and also we don't have enough advisors for Sharia compliance, and that's one of the reasons why we find difficult to go for Islamic financing. So when you are doing smart contracts for the Islamic financing auditing and its operations, it makes things easier and also optimum utility of the Sharia compliant advisor we can achieve. So a use case for Islamic banking or Islamic financing of blockchain is even more important than the conventional banking.
What are other key uses of blockchain you're seeing around the world, and how can nChain help people in this room and watching?
When we think about data, we've kind of mentioned integrity of data, ensuring that if we're all working on a set of data, that we're working on the same set of data, that the data is accurate, hasn't been compromised, because that data is key in order for us to make decisions. And so at nChain, we understand blockchain is complicated, that it's very complex, it's very difficult to build on. So at nChain, we've built a platform called Kensei, which abstracts the complexity away. It builds business-facing and business-focused products that allow clients and enterprises around the world to very easily leverage the power of the BSV blockchain in order to provide integrity to the data. And when we think about data and improving the integrity of that data, we can then start seeing use cases such as regulatory reporting, regulatory reporting across different entities or different enterprises. We can talk about how we can build enhanced auditing systems. And so, those are the kind of the natural use cases that come out of the ability to kind of guarantee integrity of data. But then that data has value in itself, especially when you kind of incorporate that into payments. When we make payments, we now have metadata that we can capture. So for central banks and commercial banks and entities across the world, they can very easily now see where their money is being used, where the money is, where the velocity of money is within a country. And so that data becomes valuable, and that data plus the payments itself then gives information, and that information is going to be vital for kind of driving the next evolution in the way we see economy moving. When we talk about MetaNet, data and payments are going to be extremely important to ensuring the interoperability between different metaverses and different concepts of metaverses. And so if we can have an interoperable data set and an interoperable payment system, it becomes easier for us to look at how we can start supporting different metaverses, different applications and services that sit on top.
Okay, and Mohammed, so we'll end with you. You work across different sectors with blockchain. What's the best advice you could give to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia from your lessons, particularly across Africa?
One critical space around identity, because I believe harmonizing identity is a very critical space, because in terms of looking at one unique ID and verifiable ID, whereby we can be able to have it various on layers. If we can have that on blockchain, and that will be, that unique ID will be able to verifiable, understand that, oh, this is this person, and this is where he's coming from, without doing several check or third-party check again to be able to fill that. So I believe this is an area where Domineum is looking at to be able to really leapfrog around identity management, because we've seen complexities around identification in bank verification, in school management verification, in government IDs, several IDs in different places. Now the world is a global village. People move borderless, so that we need to have one ID. We can be able to position it as a global identity so that we can be able to move across border.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much to our panel. Let me give them a round of applause. Thank you.